to the Y on Earth Community Podcast. I'm your host, Aaron William Perry, coming at you from the Goetheanum in Dornach, Switzerland, and visiting today with two very special guests. Immediately on my left is Ueli Hulte. It's hard for me to say. Ueli, welcome.
Yeah.
And on the other end is Jean-Michel Florin. And Jean-Michel and Ueli are the directors of the agriculture section of the Goetheanum, doing the biodynamics work worldwide. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for invitation.
Thank you very much.
It's my pleasure, and perhaps you could say your names for our audience so they hear the correct pronunciation, the precise pronunciation.
Yeah, so my name is Ueli Hurter, and it's a Swiss-German name, and therefore it's not easy for other languages.
And my name is Jean-Michel Florin. It's also maybe not so easy to say, and I come from France.
Thank you very much. Ja, ganz schwierig für mich. Difficult.
Well done.
Jean-Michel is the co-leader of the section for agriculture since 2010. He studied agriculture and nature conservation, is the coordinator of the Biodynamic Association in France, author and editor of books and journals, expert and speaker on these subjects, Goethean botany, medicinal plants, landscape, and viticulture. And we'll be talking a bit, we'll hit on viticulture and Goethean botany because this is a very important specific thread and gesture impulse running through Steiner's work. And Ueli is also co-leader of the section for agriculture, also since 2010. And since 2020 is on the Executive Council of the General Anthroposophical Society. He's a member of the board of directors at Weleda since 2019 and a biodynamic farmer on the Ferme Fromagerie de Laubier.
Ferme et Fromagerie de Laubier.
Golly. Part of the management of Laubier. Okay. Since 2002, he's a board member of the International Biodynamic Association and is on the supervisory board of the Biodynamic Federation Demeter International. He is also author of a book called Biodynamics, a new book that in the near future will be available in English, and we'll talk about the books you guys have written as well. So thanks again, welcome, and I'm so happy we have this opportunity to speak about such an important topic at such a momentous time, and especially that we can do this together in person.
Yeah, fine.
Okay, so kicking things off, just to help create context and paint the picture, talking about the picture behind us. We're here at the Goetheanum. What is the Goetheanum, and what's so special about this place where we're currently sitting together?
Well, the Goetheanum is obviously a building because we can see it. It's shaped in concrete and it's huge. It's kind of huge building and it's like sculptured. Yeah, it's a special language in architecture, I would say. And it has been built, this Goetheanum, from 1925 to 1928, so it's quite 1 century old. And this one is the second building that has been on the very same place, a first one, and it was in wood, and it burned down. And then it has to be reshaped in a very, let's say, seen from outside, different way. But the architecture is Rudolf Steiner, and he said it's the same but expressed in another material and in another language of forms. So this is the aspect of the building, and yeah, the first purpose has been to have a theater. There have been plays written by Steiner and others, and they became used at this time to play them. And they have been in different theaters, mainly in Munich. And then they had the idea, let's do something like this for our own. And yeah, there has been an owner here of this land, and he offered this to Steiner in order to build this building and to have a kind of center for anthroposophy, first with the arts and then becomes more and more with science. And actually we call ourselves a school for spiritual science, and perhaps you can introduce this aspect of what it is about the Goetheanum.
This School of Spiritual Science is like a university, so to say, with different departments. We say section, 12 different sections. And for example, we are co-leading the section for agriculture, but we have colleagues in the same building, in a small building, near the Goetheanum, in the campus of the Goetheanum. We have also the scientific section. And then we have also a social section for pedagogy, medical section, and other different art sections, and so on. And sections are there for research and also training and development, coordination. And maybe one more aspect of the Goetheanum, if we say Goetheanum, we should really see that we have a campus, more or less 10 hectares with a garden. It's really something between a farm and a garden, because we have cows, we have sheep, we have a big vegetable garden, we have flowers, and we have also something like a park. So the Goetheanum has also really landscape around itself, and it's here in Dornach, maybe I would say the biggest garden from the village. So it's also an open place for everybody from the region to come the garden, to go in the Goetheanum. It's totally open to everybody.
Yeah, and it's so absolutely beautiful. I had the opportunity to walk around a bit this morning to experience the garden, the plants. There's so much vitality in the landscape. And obviously, you know, many of our friends with biodynamic farms and gardens back in Colorado and elsewhere in North America have this same type of experience where the vitality is really enhanced. And I'm wondering, Jean-Michel, if you could tell us a little about the history, the impulse of the biodynamic work particularly, and how that got started, why that got started, and why maybe it's important for our times now. And we'll talk more about this, obviously.
It's interesting that Steiner was asked about a lot of topics from different people around him. So about pedagogy, about medicine. And then the last one, or some of the last one, were the farmers. They asked him and said, yeah, but with your insights, maybe you could give very interesting principles for the farming for the future, connected to the respect of life, of all living beings, because it was the core aspect. And it's strange, because we could think 100 years ago, nature was okay, everything was okay. There was no real big ecological movement like now. I mean, the challenges were not really big connected to the questions of ecology. It was more industry and so on, social questions for sure, and so on, inflations and so. But these farmers and these people, not only farmers and also researchers and other people, they ask really, Steiner, can you give some insights for farming for the future, for the earth and for the food of people, to have a high quality food for the people also. And it was really the beginning of biodynamic farming 100 years ago in 1924. And it was not at the Goetheanum. Steiner gave a course, 8 lectures in Poland. This place is now in Poland, in Koberwitz. And there, more or less 130 people came together, and they had 8 lectures and also answers and so on. And out of this, it was the beginning of an association of farmers, and they developed step by step biodynamic farming, and now we have it all over the world. So it's the very beginning.
Incredible. It's such a large movement with so much momentum now. And Ueli, it's interesting to talk about biodynamics with folks who aren't yet familiar with some of the practices and techniques. And I often describe it to folks as a very advanced form of organic agriculture and land stewardship, pulling from indigenous, traditional, folk, and esoteric knowledge and wisdom. And what I also remember hearing that part of why the farmers were asking Steiner to provide some insight is this was the beginning of the chemical agriculture that has now obviously proliferated and caused so many challenges for us worldwide. And I'm wondering if you could give us a bit more context and adding to what Jean-Michel has said and take us in the direction of what's different about the practices compared to other modes of organic agriculture.
Yeah, so I mean, we look back to perhaps centuries of what we call actually traditional agriculture. And this has been hard work, and food security has not been given. And traditional means you do the same that your father did, and there is no reason to do it other than to do it again as the former generation have done it. And then science, natural science developed, we know, from 15th century on in the Western civilization. And in the, let's say then 19th century, this new science approach also came to agriculture. And there then chemicals have been the science who could explain how it works, how plants they grow, how they root and what they do with the roots in the soil. This was very new, very new. And then this has been a kind of breaking up with tradition. And then this became industry. What all has been science became industry. And so we have important dates are 1840 with Justus Liebig, a chemical man from Germany, and he describes the nutrition phenomena with minerals for the plant. And this then became industry in the First World War, where the fabrics for the artificial nitrogen has been built up. First it was for war, the war was over, and then they sold this to the farmers. And in this very moment, the question has coming to Rudolf Steiner, is this the way to go? Is this the future? And then he opened this other path, But being scientific, but he names it spiritual science. So this is kind of, special, because either you are spiritual or scientific. But to say a spiritual science, and this is, I would say, a kind of strength of anthroposophy, that it's both. Well, this is not so much our subject now, but out of this stream came these lectures for farming, and okay, we take on what has been best practice by tradition. We do many things which organic people also do, and then we do some more. Because Steiner said, okay, artificial nitrogen we don't take, pesticides we don't take, and this was not in the not really there, but GMO we will not do. But how can we then do? Is it just enough to go back and to do traditional farming? And he said, no, we have to create a future, but not with materialistic science and techniques, with a kind of spiritual science and technique coming out of it. And therefore we have a set of principles and practical things we do in biodynamics, and this differs us from others. And the very best known and the very, let's say, most characteristic is what we call our preparations. Yeah. We can talk about if you like, but so far for the historical situation.
Yeah, it's so wonderful, and I'm smiling ear to ear because, you know, so many friends, we make preparations together, and it's such a joy coming together in community when we're making the preparations, and then also when we're applying, stirring and applying the preparations. And I'll just mention we've had several other dear friends on the podcast talking about different aspects of this, and we'll include references in the show notes. We recently spoke with Sheila Foster, the executive director of the Biodynamic Demeter Alliance, and we actually talked with Lynn Bautza a couple of years ago, and Thea Maria Carlson, Pat Frazier, Stephanie Seisen, Brooke Levan at Sustainable Settings, where I used to work almost 20 years ago. And yeah, there's you know, we have so many friends and colleagues engaging in regenerative agriculture, in permaculture, in tools and techniques that aren't necessarily getting into the depths of the spiritual, the heart, the mind, the will. And one of my favorite quotes from Steiner that I know translated into English, I'm going to probably include in the show notes, about the importance of connecting the mind, the will, and implicit the heart for human beings, especially in these times. And he speaks about this. There's a real sense of going way beyond the building blocks of nutrition as understood in a chemical sense, and getting into some of the deeper, subtler, and perhaps not as well understood quite yet aspects of what it really means to be a human being alive on planet Earth. Can you tell us, pull that thread through and just tell us a little about the preparations, and for some of our audience who maybe isn't familiar, Ueli?
Yeah, but just taking on this, what does it mean to be man on Earth? Human beings on Earth, humanity on Earth. Huh? And I will just link up to the upcoming conference we will have here at the Goetheanum, where our big hall has 1,000 places, so we hope that we will be full. And the title, how do you celebrate 100 years of something? You are looking to find the point where it is, And so we found the point in a way that we said, Sun, Earth, Man. This is the title. And this Sun, Earth, Man, this relation is a short form. It's just the terms of a kind of verse. And the verse goes like this: from sun, through the earth, for man. This is the first part. May man become sun for the earth. And I would say in this gesture, in this double gesture, we have what it is about, that the sun shining and bringing her warmth and light to the dark but fertile earth makes growing the plants, and we have our food. And then comes the second thing, that we cultivate this given nature. We are, in our view, co-creators of an earth then which has an inner sun in some way, and this is our working with our hands, guided by spirit, heart, and hands. And this came very clearly to appearance with the preparations, where we create out of the kingdoms of the given nature new substances which we introduce in our farm organisms, as we call them. So not farm systems, farm organism, meaning a living being. And then with the preparations therein, this living being has new capabilities for to connect with the cosmos, for to connect with the earth, and for to be, let's say, open for the humans. And yeah, we always take something which comes from the plant kingdom, we take something which comes from the animal kingdom, and then we make a kind of composition with the seasons. Will you describe one of the preparations as an example?
Yeah, I can. There is one which is interesting, maybe easy, a little bit easier to understand. It's the chamomile. Huh?
Yeah.
And the chamomile is a plant, Matricaria recutita, Latin name, because there are a lot of similar plants, but it grows on a very hard soil, actually, on a mineral soil without life. Huh? The soil is totally dead, without breathing, and it's interesting because it's this plant is very not dense, not hard, but it grows. It's an annual plant, and it grows always further and further and further, and grows in the space, and build leaves and more leaves and more leaves. But the leaves are really, how do you say? They are a little bit. They are not hard. They are really. They give the possibility to the air to go through. They play really with the air. They play with the light. They are really like breathing. Huh? And in the soil, the chamomile has also a lot of roots in every direction, and it's a similar picture. The roots of the chamomile, they are going in every direction, and they bring air in the soil, so to say, because they are really helping this soil, this very hard soil. It's like concrete, and now with these roots, you get like a breathing, and this plant brings something like a rhythm in the soil. The air can go in the soil. If there is too much water in the soil, it can go outside. So there is really all the elements are mixed together through the chamomile. So in the first picture, so to understand the preparations, we have to look where the plants are living and what they do on the place where they are growing. And then we make a big step and we make something like sausages with the flowers. Huh?
Yeah.
We take the best out of the development of the chamomile, these small flowers, and they smell very nice. And we know they have a specific quality also for baby skin and so on. They are very good against every kind of inflammation, also for breathing, especially for the guts. And it's a connection. That means if I have a gut problem, so I cannot really digest, take chamomile tea, 10 minutes after it's gone. Yeah. Also for small babies. And you can also use it from outside on the belly. And then if you and now we make sausages, not with meat, but we make the same. We take animal guts and we put the flowers in it. But maybe you can understand the connection. Huh? Yeah. We take the organs which can be healed through these plants. Yeah. And so we enhance the capacity of the plant through this preparation. Yeah. And then we put these sausages in the soil in autumn, and they are like during the winter in the soil, and there is a transformation. And in spring you take these small sausages out of the soil. You have to be very careful because the sausages are like more or less destroyed, and you have really to find the plants because they are really transformed. And it's one of the preparations. And we put a very small amount in the compost. It's really not a question of a lot of sausages. It's really a very small amount, like a remedy. Not
almost like homeopathics.
Yes, yes. For big compost, you put like that.
Yeah. So. You know, Jean-Michel, I'm elated. I'm overjoyed you chose the chamomile.
Okay.
For me, this is a very important symbolic gesture, also with the relationship with Mercury and the Hermetic arts. And you know, we're gonna pull the conversation back to the incredible conference coming up in February of 2024, marking the 100-year anniversary. And also through all of this is very practical work being done for soil regeneration, climate stability, resilience, nutrition for people, justice. And with Rudolf Steiner, we have the opportunity to run down some pretty exciting rabbit holes, including getting into some of the esoteric sciences. And in the Rosicrucian practices, for example, and some of the other initiatic traditions, there is this body of work, of practice around the Hermetic arts, around the above and the below, around the healing. And so many of our modern symbols, even for things like medicine, come from these traditions. And I'm wondering if one or both of you might reflect a little on some of the very esoteric aspects of Steiner's work, his knowledge, and how that has influenced this work being done now in our world.
Dornach, or?
Yes. As I already said, he took together science and spirituality. And where is the bridge? Where is the bridge between science and spirituality? And for him, it's the thinking. The thinking who is in the same time, let's say, the main tool in modernity to create this abstract and materialistic view on the world. He says we should not go out of the line of the thinking. But we cannot. We can do something with the thinking. We can try to hold it on. That's not always one thought is just creating the other one. Yeah, this is how it works, and as we can observe. It's a machine which is always, it's going on without my will. So can I interfere with my own personal will in my thinking and, for example, hold it on, shape it, move it, transform it. And when you do this, you can say these are exercises which lead to something which then at the end can be named as a meditation. And there comes the link with the old traditional, let's say, spiritual approach. And this makes this wonderful thing that you are master of your spirituality. You are not just open up and let the godness take you on. You master, but you widen your thinking in a way that you really create a space where something other than, let's say, the physical world can appear and can be seen and can be then related on. So perhaps this as a first approach, it's not to go under the consciousness, it's to go a step above the normal consciousness, but by, let's say, training and exercising, which is completely in my hands.
And I could add, because also in the conference in February, we have to, each year we take one small text from Steiner, the last text he wrote at the end of his life. The name is Michael Letter. And we will present one text. And it's very interesting because in this text, Steiner describes four steps of consciousness, 4 steps of relationship between human beings and world, or nature and the world, and the universe, one can say. And in the first step, he explains that the human beings were fully connected, and they got the wisdom directly from outside. As they look at a plant, they got the wisdom, but without any reflection, without any effort. So, and for example, in the and then it goes on. In the second step, they didn't perceive directly the wisdom of the gods, as it was said with the old words. I can say it also wisdom, but we can also say, gods. Second step, it was more the expression of the gods, what they are doing, but not really connection with. And so step by step until now, human beings disconnect actually from this wisdom, spiritual wisdom all around. And now we have to think, as Ueli said, we have to think, and we are free to think. But the question is how we think. If we think too quick and without really looking, without making this kind of meditative way, then it's like this machine which is going on, and then we go to artificial intelligence. It could be the way. The other way would be to stop and really think on a different way. One can say, and Steiner gives a very interesting thing. He says we should not only think with the head, but more with the heart also, together. That means I look at a plant, for example, but I try also to feel. But really to use my feelings as perception organs. That means I don't put my feelings on the plant. I like this plant, wonderful. No, I look it in a very objective way, and I wait until some feelings are coming to me by looking at the plant. And then we can see every plant gives us a specific kind of feeling. So it's not only looking and thinking, but also thinking with the heart. So it could be the step for the future, to reconnect with nature on a very conscious way, but really to reconnect, because we need it really now. We are in such a situation, totally disconnected. I mean, I think every of us knows much better what is the news from the other side of the world, but we don't know which plants are growing in front of our door, so it's a pity. I don't say it's not good to know what is happening on the other side of the world, but there where we can make something in our garden, in front of our door, we should know this, we should observe this, we should think about our place, our village, our farm, our forest, our region.
Yeah, absolutely. And as hundreds and thousands and millions of us are more deeply engaging in this practice, starting at the root, the center of the home, the family, the community, this is the gesture that scales worldwide. And here comes an aircraft we have church bells and aircrafts and all kinds of good things going on. And in this time we have also, of course, the issue of soil regeneration, carbon sequestration, climate stabilization. And I'm really curious, how many, do we have an idea how many biodynamic farms are there worldwide, and how, what's a way we can sort of convey to our friends in our audience how big and robust this movement is already?
It's big and small in the same time. Depends how you judge it, and it's robust and shake in the same time. We have a certification for what we do. We call it Demeter certification. It's a trademark then for the products in the market, and we have about 8,000 to 9,000 certified operations in the world, agricultural operations. And then we have, I would say, the same number of really concise operations which are not certified, because they are in places where there is no market. Or for example, the wine growers, they have another way to sell their bottles. So this means we are about perhaps 20,000, and then we are perhaps at 20,000 more with all smallholders. They are grouped in projects where they are 1,000, 2,000 or 5,000 together, doing perhaps a crop which they can sell with a cooperative, let's say coffee or cotton or something like this, and they have 1 or 2 hectares for their family, and they do biodynamics even when the product then is certified organic and is sold as such. So I would say we are perhaps on 40,000 places we are really active and consistently with biodynamics, and then we have many gardeners and smallholders and people involved, let's say, with the other aspects of biodynamics, which goes then to transformation of the basic products, goes to the value chain and the different steps like this until cooks. Yeah, we have chiefs of very famous chiefs. They rely on biodynamic food for to do their art, if you like.
Yeah. You know, at Sustainable Settings Biodynamic Ranch, where I used to work near Aspen, Colorado, we have some of the finest restaurants in Colorado and North America, and many of the chefs there say only the biodynamic produce has the depth and complexity of flavor. They can't get it elsewhere. And so that this gets into some of the quality, the nutrition, the life force, the vitality. I mean, maybe we can speak about that a little bit also.
Yeah, but please, because it's, you know, quality of food and wine is coming from France.
Okay.
So
Terroir.
Terroir, yeah, it's really the case. We were, even as Biodynamic Association in France, we were surprised as the first vintners came to us and said, but you have a very interesting method. We get really better wines with this if we do a good job, for sure. And so some now I can say some of the best wines of the world in France, but now in more and more countries are working with biodynamic. And the interesting aspect is that they came, for a big part, they came to biodynamics really through tasting first. So even blind tasting and so on, or tasting the wine from the colleagues. Or the colleague is doing biodynamics. It's a little bit strange what he is doing. Very early in the morning, he sprays something on his grapes and so. And then you ask, and he says, it's only 4 grams of silica, so you think it works? And then the colleague asks, and the vintner says, please, look at my wine, how a year after year, how how does it taste? And so we could really convince a lot of vintners through tasting, through looking at the situation, but also looking at the soil, for sure. Looking also at the soil is better, the plants are healthier, and you know the wine plants, they are always ill, actually. You have to spray so much. So every time you spray less, and if you can really spray more and more with the plants instead, and at the end stop with any kind of chemical, then you are so happy for your nature, for your landscape, because wine is really one of the most intensive culture with so much pesticides. So that means also from this side it's really important. But I would say a lot of people discovered biodynamics, a lot of vintners through tasting. I even had a student, I asked, when I have a student, a biodynamic student, they want to learn 2 years long, so it's a long study, and why are you there? And one said, I like the wines and I discovered this very good quality. Then I thought, I have to study this. So interesting.
Yeah, it's fabulous. Yeah, I love this. Let me remind our audience, this is the Why on Earth Community Podcast. I'm your host, Aaron William Perry. Today we are visiting at the Goetheanum in Switzerland with the co-directors of the section for agriculture here, Jean-Michel Florin and Ueli Hülse.
Ueli Hurta, yeah.
Ueli Hülse.
Yeah.
And I want to take a quick moment to thank a few of our sponsors who make this podcast series possible. This includes Chelsea Green Publishing. We have a great partnership with them. You can use the code YOE35 at Chelsea Green to get a 35% discount on their books and audiobooks. And in fact, many of their authors are engaged in biodynamics also. So there's a lot of cross-fertilization going on here, literally and figuratively. Purium Organic Superfoods. Waylay Waters, biodynamically grown hemp-infused aromatherapy soaking salts. This is actually a social enterprise Y on Earth community runs to help fund our work. Our friends at Profitable Purpose Consulting. Earth Hero Sustainable Products. Soilworks Biodynamic Garden Preparation. Earth Coast Productions, and of course a very special thank you to all of our ambassadors, and especially those who have chosen to give in our monthly giving program. And if you're interested in giving on a monthly basis, you can go to yonearth.org and select the donate button to select whatever level works well for you. If you choose $33 or greater, and if you're in the United States, we'll send you a jar of the Waylay Waters soaking salts each month as a thank you, and also for self-care. And we promised we would talk a bit about the viticulture, and we've done that. And I want to also talk about the Goethean botany. But first, want to make sure to emphasize the importance of this upcoming conference in February 2024, the 7th through the 10th. You can go to agriculture-conference.org to get information on this, to register, get more details, and so on. Also, for general information, you can go to section-landwirtschaft.org/en if you're looking for English, and we'll include the links in the show notes, of course. And more broadly, there's an opportunity to become a member of and or connect to the General Anthroposophical Society, which is one of the other global web works emanating out from the Goetheanum. So lots of ways to connect in, and very excited about the upcoming conference marking the 100-year anniversary of the agriculture lectures, the biodynamic movement. And so maybe as a moment to ground this into an even an impulse that's even further back in history, the impulse of Goethe. He has given so much to our world in philosophy and literature, etc. What is it about the impulse from Goethe that is now alive and activated through biodynamics and through the legacy of Rudolf Steiner?
I think that the very interesting aspect from Goethe we really use, one can say, in biodynamic agriculture is this specific look not only on the on nature like things, but that he could really look at the plants, at the animals as living beings. And it seems to be easy, but it's really not easy. In the daily life, mostly, very often, we speak about resources if we speak about plants. But they are not resources. They are beings. They are living beings. So they have their own dignity. But everybody can think in every situation, how do I deal with my plants? I deal with my plants, I ask myself, are they good for me, are they bad for me? But it's very egoistic. It's possible, but first we have to give the plants and the animal their own dignity. That means to look at them as living beings. And for this, Goethe could really make open a way how to look at the plants as living beings. For example, for the plants, if you want to understand them as living beings, you have to look at them in their context, in the space where they are living. What I tried to explain with the chamomile, huh? I describe the chamomile in the context, yeah, not on the table, not cut in small pieces, yeah? And also in the development, in time, because a plant, such being like a plant, is actually a being in time. You have to look at all steps of development, the life, yeah. If you look at the life and you try inside, so to say, you try to follow these steps, and then you come in a flow of life, and then you see a plant is not a thing, it's a process in time. It's a very different. And then you can ask what are the consequences for breeding and so on. And then we could speak about GMOs and so on, because if you make GMOs, you make this if you think the plants like machines, and you can take a part and put a better part. But the plants are not machines, they are processes. In a process, if you want to work with processes, you can transform the plant. Our breeders do this, but they do this outside in the fields and in time. And they help the plants to develop their own potentiality, not transforming like a machine. So it makes a huge difference. And one can say it's really, Goethe brought really an ethical view on nature and human beings. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Perhaps to add,
Yeah.
he was this kind of scientist
Yeah.
for life. And he is also very known as a writer, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. And his, let's say, chef d'oeuvre, so his masterpiece is called Faust.
Ja.
Yeah.
Das habe ich gelesen.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And
Very
Faust is the dramatic story of himself.
Yeah.
And he is a professor, so he is a scientist.
Yeah.
And he came about that with this kind of science, he's out of life. And then Mephisto comes.
Yeah.
Mephisto is kind of appearance of what is the bad, or
Der
how to say
Teufel,
it.
the devil.
Yeah, the devil.
Devil.
And he says, "Oh, you look, I can help you enter in life. Will you make young? You can meet nice girls.
Right.
Yeah, ready?"
The Faustian
And so
bargain.
he goes in, and he does his journey. He goes on his journey through life,
Yeah.
and it's very dramatic. Yeah, people die, and there is a war, and they invent money. Yeah, so kind of bitcoins at the time, and so on. And at the end, he is an old man, and it's the moment of dying. And this is the question now: is he on the side of the devil, or on the side of, let's say, heaven? Huh?
Yeah.
And it's not so clear. Huh? It shakes a little bit, and then, his soul can go to heaven because Gretchen, is there and helps to him. So Goethe is
das
also
ewige Weibliche trägt uns hinan.
super.
Oh.
Super. Yeah.
The eternal feminine,
Yeah.
right? It gets into the eternal feminine.
So Goethe is also the writer of the modern typology of biography, of which concerns us all. And therefore the Goetheanum behind us is also built. Huh? We do Goethe's Faust each second year in full length.
Wow.
So you are invited.
When is the next one?
Next one is next summer.
Cool.
Next summer, so go on the webpage of the Goetheanum, we will find it, and I can tell you it's great. It goes for days and days.
Fabulous. Yeah.
And it's all about, it's very colorful light, and it's with eurythmy, and it's with music, so it's really a complex play. And this is also Goethe, so it's not out of modern times, it's really how can we as modern beings find our path towards ourselves, meaning towards, let's say the reality of our existence on earth, but not forgetting heaven.
Absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Look, I know you both have a very busy day with meetings, and I heard church bells. I've lost track of what time we have, and want to honor your schedule. Before we wrap up the episode, of course, we could talk for days, and I hope to come back and have more opportunities to
Would be fine.
share
Yeah,
together. Look forward to
For
that.
example, in February for the conference.
Yeah, vielleicht.
You could meet here so many of our people
I would
from
love
around the world.
that. I'd love to. Yeah. And of course, you're both authors. And before we wrap up, if you want to share a bit about your books briefly, maybe you can. And I'm handing you this one that you wrote. But more than anything, I want to make sure to give you each the floor if there's any final remark you'd like to share with our audience before we conclude today.
So I take the occasion to present this little booklet I did together with someone other, and it's about biodynamics in a very, let's say, popular way, in a vocabulary which is really accessible for, I hope, everyone. And the subtitle is, the birth moment of biodynamics as a source, as a root, as a starting point for the eco movement throughout the 20th century. So we feel ourselves happy that we are what we are, and that we have the term and the identity of biodynamics and Demeter, but we feel also very, very connected to all other eco movements, to all other people and all other strivings for to practice a life in farming and in others which really respects our earth as a living being, and that we make ourselves capable to co-create the future and the partnership between humans and the earth.
Beautiful. Amen. Aho. Beautiful.
Yeah, I think it was a good end, so to say. I don't want to add so much. I want really to invite all of you to come to our conference if you can, because it's always a very important time where all people from, I think, more than 50 countries are coming together, all continents. And it's also for us very important to say the biodynamic agriculture was given 100 years ago. But now, step by step, it could really develop all over the world, and we develop further. This agriculture is not, it was the first principles were given, but now it's something like a stream with transformation and going further and further, and we need really these sharings, this conference is really important to be in touch and to really work on the big challenges we have now. So it's not something which is fixed, it's something really always in transformation, and then for this we need everybody and all friends, all people who are involved to come together and to share. So very warm welcome to the conference this year or the next year.
Ausgezeichnet, danke. Yeah, this is wonderful. Thank you so much. And Ueli, thank you.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it, Jean-Michel.
Thank
you very much. It's wonderful to have this opportunity to visit with you. And for now, goodbye, everybody.
The Why on Earth Community Stewardship and Sustainability podcast series is hosted by Aaron William Perry, author, thought leader, and executive consultant. The podcast and video recordings are made possible by the generous support of people like you. To sign up as a daily, weekly, or monthly supporter, please visit whyonearth.org/support. Support packages start at just $1 per month. The podcast series is also sponsored by several corporate and organization sponsors. You can get discounts on their products and services using the code WHYONEARTH, all one word with a Y. These sponsors are listed on the whyonearth.org/support page. If you found this particular podcast episode especially insightful, informative, or inspiring, please pass it on and share it with a friend whom you think will also enjoy it. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your support. And thank you for being a part of the Why on Earth community.